Okay. Well, welcome to the July 29th, 2025 session of TAPR and HamSCI technical session. My name is Dave, KB0S, and this week I've been working on cleaning up my shack some more. I got to working on reorganizing my radios a little bit and trying a few new things. Um, and then my wife's having eye surgery on Wednesday, so that also takes up some family time or time of mine. So that's it for me. Next on the list, we have Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dave. Most of the work for this project has been getting ready for the K3LR trip next week. Some of that is I'm working on setting up a B-Link right here, which I now have Whisper Daemon installed and I think is running properly. And Rob Robinette's looked at it and is reporting hopefully to Alabama and to Whisper Daemon. I am also working on I have the magnetometer here too. I'm going to try to get that up and running as well. I know Dave sent me an email about the ordering parts for the USB adapter for this. I don't know if how fast I can get a hold of that. Like, is that something I can get a hold of in a couple of days and potentially actually deploy the magnetometer on the B-Link, or is that for next week, or is that pushing things? So that's a question.
I think it would probably take 4 or 5, 3 or 4 days. It has to come from Las Vegas, and I don't know if they had 80 in stock earlier. But I don't have. No, I'm sorry. I don't have the adapter board fabricated.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just if it was something that was ready to go, then I'd consider doing it. But otherwise, I'll just do what I'm doing with the Raspberry Pis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put up. Yeah. I have been continuing to troubleshoot the PSWS systems I have at my house here. I think I learned why my system was not reporting. Well, they're still having some issues with it, with one of them. So it's not completely debugged, but I'm still working on that. I think I do know why the system was giving small amounts, only reporting partial data in the past. And that was because the partition on the hard drive was set too small. But I think that's adjusted now. So now there's some other issue. Anyway, I'm working on all of that. We're planning on going to K3LR next week on Monday and install the personal space weather station on Tuesday. So looking forward to that. Back to Nat.
Very good. Exciting things happening. So next on the list is Jay Schwartz, WB8 SBI. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I was on mute there and had the video turned off. Did I get my dates wrong? Are you going to K3LR this coming Monday and Tuesday? Is that it? I thought it was toward the end of next week. Did I get the dates wrong there?
I'm going August 4th through 7th.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah, okay. That was my question. And because I was thinking about driving down there. It's about a 3-hour drive from my house here. So not sure what just to come down there and see what I can learn about this stuff. I haven't had a chance to go hands-on on any of the actual hardware and the software since I've been participating here. So, but I'll think about that and communicate with you offline, email or something like that, Nathaniel.
Sounds good. Yeah, let me know. There's a barbecue on Wednesday that Gary's looking for people to RSVP to. So I think that the due date for that RSVP is July 30th, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll communicate via email with you offline here. Other than that, nothing new here from the metropolitan Detroit area, other than it was blitheringly hot, and heat warnings were up today, and the heat's supposed to break on by Thursday. So, oh, and this weekend in where I live, in few miles from here, Shakespeare in the Park, they're doing Macbeth. So looking forward to that. So with that, that's about all. I'll say 73 to everybody. Stay cool, stay safe, and back to net control.
Okay. Next on the list is Dave Julian, WB9, YIG. Go ahead.
Yep. Good evening, folks. Not much going on here. Just trying to stay cool. Like Detroit, it's been hotter than it could be up here. So back to the net. We'll let you go.
Okay. Next on the list is Phil, K9Q. Go ahead, Phil.
Hey, Dave and the group. Hey, I just posted to the chat group a link to real-time data on the California utility scale battery storage, since we were just discussing that. Here, not a whole lot going on. I've been rebuilding parts of my station and my rack, shortening cables and rearranging things. It's amazing how noise levels start to drop when you do that sort of stuff. Well, I've also been putting in some toroids and stuff like that. Trying to get rid of Raspberry Pis. They're kind of deceptively cheap when you start, but when you scale things up, they're not always the cheapest way to do a job, especially when you get big stacks of them. Anyway, that's about it from here. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Next on the list is Scott, N5TNL. Go ahead.
Let's see. This week I worked on testing the time sync. I sent Franco and Phil some more pull requests, and I stole Clint's RX 888 Watchdog idea. That's about it for me. Back to y'all.
Very good. Sounds like you've been busy. Next on the list is Bill Engelkey. Go ahead, Bill.
Fine business, Dave. Good evening to the net. Lot going on here. Been working on the final report as needed by the NSF. We're doing that early. Been working on that. I see that my colleague over at the High Performance Computing Center got his import software going for reading in the drives. He's got the first 10 of the 4 terabyte drives of the Grape 2s inhaled into the new system. So we're looking forward to being able to get started working with that data. Also still busy importing a lot of data from WWV and then putting that into the personal space weather station network. Finally got my new Cushcraft A4S. It's up in the air. I'm not hooked up to it yet because I'm waiting for some special cable that you need. You have to build this great big balun using a certain type of coax that does not use a foam core. RG8 that does not use a foam core is actually kind of a rare bird, so I had to order that. Should be getting on the line with that. But that thing looks impressive up in the air. It's huge. I had to cut out some branches out of some trees to make room for it to be able to rotate. This weekend we have I'm going up to Detroit for the Detroit. It's actually in Livonia, the Detroit Highland Festival, where you get to wear a kilt and watch guys throw telephone poles. So that should be a fun thing to do, and I'll just be there for a couple of days and see the grandchild and some things like that. 2 weeks after that, I'm going to Detroit again. Going to drive in the Woodward Avenue Dream Cruise. I'm going to take my Mercedes sports car, which is about 20 years old now, so I think it qualifies as a classic car. Although the folks up there prefer the 66 Pontiac GTO. That's what they consider classic, So, but I like those two. But I never had a muscle car. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I did have a Trans Am once, but it was not very muscular. Back when you could buy the Trans Am, you got this 6.6 liter engine that had maybe 160 horsepower. Oh, come on. Anyway, that's my report. Back to Ned.
Well, it is Detroit, Bill. Anyway, next on the list is Paul Elliott. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I've been working on a few things, from most recent to least recent. Just got one of these capacitors in. This is the smaller, the 1.25 farad capacitor. Wanted to see if how I'm going to fit it into one of, I want to use the same enclosure. This is for that temporary battery backup thing. I have a design. I just wanted to wait on to actually get one of these batteries in hand, make sure that, the cable and the connectors and everything were going to fit. The mechanical parts, usually the hardest. The electronics is pretty simple. Well, especially thanks to Clint's design that I'm basically stealing. So got that. I think it'll be a really useful thing, and I'm prepared to, if people like it, I'm prepared to provide those. I've been working with Scott on this BPSK thing. Got a unit ready to go out to him. I've been testing it, and I'm happy. Clint, we're doing the injection above Nyquist and launching about minus 35 dBm in it, roughly 84 megahertz, and I got the numbers for that. That can be changed, but I think we need to start somewhere, and I think that's a good guess at what will actually work. And finally, I guess, I just got this one in today. There we go. Well, I'm sorry. There. Anyway, it's a Class C power amplifier design using a gallium arsenide GaN FET. These FETs are really being sold to the switching regulator guys, but they seem to have good specs for, like Class C type operation up, well past, 50 megahertz. But we'll see. So I'm going to build one of these and start testing it at different frequencies and see how I can get it to work. This will be used should somebody actually want a whisper sonde or something similar with more output power. But this is just a test board so I can see if the concept, see if my design works. And no reason it shouldn't, but, maybe I could be missing something. And I've been preparing for the getting the stuff ready for the AGU. I guess I'll be going out there in December, a little bit before Christmas, and if Nathaniel will let me, I'll talk about some stuff. And I guess that's about it. Although it's been a pretty busy week here, so.
Well, was that gallium arsenide, gallium nitride?
I think it's gallium nitride. Let's see.
It gasped and said GaN, so.
Yeah, GaN is what they're calling it. I think it's nitride. I'm not a physics guy, so I just, I see the acronym, but I don't pretend to understand the details. And okay, that's it for me. Back to Net.
Okay. Next on the list. Oh,
one more thing.
Go ahead.
Those little Ballon boards, the 50 ohm SMA to twisted pair, RJ45 connector. They're about to put those in a box and send them to me from China. So yeah, it's another thing that I did this week. So that should have some to test. I think I'm making 30 of them, or maybe it's just 20, but it's a big first run. I hope they're not totally screwed up, but we'll find out. So okay, now back to Net.
Okay. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. Paul, I received one GPS interface box in the mail today. I believe 2 more are coming. I was also working with Paul on the next design spin of the GPS interface box, some fixes and some features. I'm going to be ordering some prototypes of that, so I could test out the new design spin. I also the VLF preamp board that I designed. I built and assembled it. So far, testing has gone very good. There was one silkscreen mistake. I also moved in the gas discharge arrestor a little closer to the inside of the board. Just so it would fit better. So I'm going to be giving an assembled board to Majid, and he's going to make a holder for the preamp board, just like he did for the magnetometer board. It'll go inside a PVC pipe. However, the smallest diameter would be the adapter that I'm using, because I'm using a threaded plug on the bottom. So the idea is that you put this board in the holder. Well, first you connect the antenna wire, and then you stuff it in the bottom of the pipe, and then you put in the put the wire through a cable gland, which is attached to this PVC threaded plug, and you connect everything up, and then you push it up, and then you thread on the plug, and then you tighten up the gland, and that completes the ensemble. So I just have to make sure that the smallest that the holder fits the smallest diameter. So I'm gonna probably have to order some of those PVC parts. I was at Lowe's the other day, scoping out part numbers, and I'm going to see if I could install a VLF system at my house. I do have the cable run. It's not an ideal location, but I'm curious to see, because you never know unless you try. So I'm going to see if I could install one at my house. That's all I have. Back to Net.
Okay. Next on the list is Michael Howen. Go ahead, Mike.
Good evening, everybody. Haven't been very active, except in a couple of little tasks here and there with Whisper Demon. Going down a couple other rabbit holes, and occupied with some other household chores and work and whatnot. Back to Net.
Okay. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello, everybody. I've mostly been, well, in the last few minutes, mostly been panicking because I've been having I used the same Logitech camera and microphone for a very long time with seemingly good results, and all of a sudden they've stopped they've become erratic and now kind of stopped working. And I bought new ones, and every time I refresh, I don't know, Ubuntu or something, it seems to get worse. So anyway, I had to switch machines to a machine that I've never used for much of anything before. And turns out it didn't have Zoom installed. And so I've been frantically installing that. Anyway, I spent most of the day, I had been hoping to send off these little adapter boards for the magnetometers to run them. But I kind of have hit a hiccup that may explain, it may be a good thing all in all for me, because I've had a whole bunch of magnetometer board designs that I had fabricated and that just didn't seem to work. And I got too frustrated with them to even debug them. And this has provoked me into finding out what's going on. And I think what's happened is I forgot how especially with the ones that I didn't design, how they're supposed to work, and especially for the local end of the thing. And so, I'm not powering them correctly, but I think I'll get it all sorted out. I had hoped to be able to just push the button and send them off to China tonight, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. At least a few of them. Maybe I'm greatly hopeful tomorrow, but I was really pushing to get this done and off my desk. But frankly, there's no room left on my desk. There rarely is, but there really, really is none now, and there's things all over it, and so anyway, I'm working frantically. I mean, these adapter boards are just brain dead simple. There's really nothing electronic on them at this point. I may have to toss a little voltage regulator on it, but there's there's nothing electronic about it at this point, and it's just adjusting pinouts. But anyway, hopefully I'll get those set out. I've also done a lot of work on uh, the whatever, the RX-888 replacement, whatever we call it this week, and um, uh, that's come. I had really hoped to have that out of here before now too, but it's a little more complicated. And and as someone else commented, it's never the electronics really that are um, cause so much so many problems. It's the mechanical layout and everything else. So been a lot of toing and froing on that. I guess maybe I'll get that out in a few days. Hope springs eternal. So at least another revision for people to pick apart for me. So that's it for me.
Okay. Next on the list is Dave, W6OQ. Go ahead, Dave.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Things are warming up a bit here in Los Angeles, not as cold as it was. Sometimes it's still sweater weather in the morning, though. I don't know what's up with that. Other than that, nothing really happening. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Okay. And next on the list is Tom McDermott. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, good evening, Dave, everybody. Couple of things. I hooked up the FX10 and looked at the color bar generator. I notice I'm getting 30 frames per second, and the documentation says it should be putting out about 60 frames per second. And Scott, did you get a chance to look at what kind of FPS you're getting out of yours?
No, I did not, but I can.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I just have a codec issue or something. It could be a bunch of things. I was using VLC to look at the output. I got most of the dangling connections on the schematic for the quad receiver. I found that the connector on the FX10 does not put out plus 5 volts from the USB connector. And so I put on circuitry to put a barrel jack and externally feed 5 volts into the receiver solely for the purpose of generating a 3.3 volt analog low noise supply. And I've got a jumper on there so it can use the 3.3 volt digital and about 4 poles of LC, but I'm not confident that's going to make the analog voltages on the ADC low enough. So it's strappable both ways. We'll find out in testing what it needs. And also trying to figure out if there's a way to inject a framing word into the data stream. It doesn't look like it's easily doable on the FX10 because the data port has to put a sample into the internal RAM FIFO every clock cycle. And so I think it would result in sample losses. So, but I'm not an expert, and my gosh, that section of the Infineon manual is about 35, 40 pages, so easy to miss something there. Lastly, I noticed that the GPIF3 state machine software for the FX10 now looks like it's coming out in the 4th quarter of this year. My recollection is that it was like about July or August it was supposed to come out. And so if that recollection is correct, then Infineon has slipped the GPIF software designer another quarter or so. So maybe we'll get some good news later on. Anyway, that's it. Back to the group.
Okay, and next on the list is Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Good evening. Not a whole lot here. Been trying to stay cool, but not having much luck with it. Probably wouldn't get much sympathy when I complained that I got all the way up to 98.8 in my backyard today. Actual temperature, 116 feels like. But I don't know that anybody's going to see that as being particularly impressive today. Still trying to get some other stuff off the table. Made a little bit of progress, but I got to get back on some ham radio and some HamSCI stuff pretty quick. Back to that, K4BSE.
Oh, okay. And next on the list is Clint, KA7OEI. Go ahead, Clint.
Hi, yeah. Only radio things I did was I spent some quality time on the roof. Well, I have a butternut HF9V on the roof. I have a metal roof on the house, so it's the natural place to put it. But I noticed that in the past couple of months, it was one day I'd look at it be leaning to the north, and then the next a few days later it'd be leaning to the south.
Yeah.
I think Rob has an open eye.
Yeah.
What?
Anyway, so what I took it down, and what of course they did was they, there's on the where they joined the pipes to the. I guess we need. Can you mute Rob?
I don't know if I can. Maybe Nathaniel can.
Anyway.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. Yeah. So what they did was they put screws in only one way. Of course, you should have them 90 degrees from each other. So I ended up adding more sets of screws so it wouldn't do this, and also tighten the mount, and finally got around to properly tuning the thing on all the bands. But all this is a prelude to what hopefully be happening this coming weekend, whereas at the Utah SDR we'll get a 110-foot man lift on site and see what the devil's wrong with the 3/4 ton piece of aluminum that is at 83 feet on the tower that stopped working quite right some months ago, and of course it's been around 100 degrees here, but at least it's dry heat. But up there at 80 some odd feet, the wind is always blowing pretty hard. So we'll see how that goes. All that sort of fun. Spent a few weeks up there several years ago refiberglassing and doing repairs. So the heights don't scare me. It's just one of those things you got to do if you have a big antenna the way the hell up there. Anyway, back to you.
Yep. Well, I was thinking you were brave getting on the metal roof in this kind of weather. So anyway, next on the list is Rob. So Nathaniel, can you unmute him?
I think we can just request that he unmutes.
Okay.
So I've asked
Rob, can you unmute?
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm out on errands. My wife's recovering from knee surgery and needs lots of ice. So
okay.
but I see. What can I report to this group? I think we have resolved a number of problems with Wi-Fi connectivity to Whisper Daemon, well, to Linux servers. So I think the software is pretty stable, and we did a fairly clean installation, Nathaniel. That was pretty clean. For some reason, you didn't get all the FFT bins were not all calculated.
Yeah, that's what you were saying, and I ran it a number of times.
Well,
so.
No. The issue is you had all the ones that were for decoding, but you didn't have the ones that are used by the spectrum.
Is it possible? Can you just define the script to say these are the ones that we know we're going to use?
I try to do all of them, and I'll just need to add some more that were not on the standard list.
Okay.
So I will fix that. But apart from that, it seems like you know how to do an installation.
Thank you. I'm getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah, and I think you're doing better. Your SAS is doing better than the DXE. Finally, I don't know. Elmer couldn't join us, but he's been doing a lot of work with Glenn on resolving these various issues. So
okay.
To improve the SAS.
You started?
Hang on a second.
Okay. Well, I think we're at the end of the list, so we're open for general discussion.
I know, Paul, I want to meet with you to look at the AGU submission, but we should probably do that off this telecon. So either afterward or in a breakout room or something like that.
Yeah. It'll be pretty tedious, I think, for anyone else.
But you can certainly tell people what you're planning on doing.
Yeah, well, okay. Jonathan and I have been working on a presentation, at least the abstract for, is it called the MacGyver session at the AGU. So it's really going to be about, what kind of problems we had, things that came up during the process of working with HamSCI and with Whisper Daemon and the new SDRs and just all the stuff that we've been working on, and then how we solved those problems. So, I'll be focusing on the items that, I put together as for part of Turn Island Systems, but, most of these were truly, a collaborative effort. In a lot of cases, I was just the one who said, after the problem had already been identified, I was the one who said, okay, I'll come up with something to fix it. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about that. and what the problem was, how we fixed it, or dealt with it, or opportunity, how we met that, and then also how these gadgets or solutions, whatever they are, have turned out to be useful, well outside the HamSCI sphere. So I think it'll be, and I've got, I think, all of 15 or 20 minutes to do this, so not going to be doing a deep dive into any of the details really. So it's really going to be a surface, a summary, but I think it'll be interesting. So I don't know. Am I missing something, Nathaniel? We haven't really even started. We haven't gotten past the abstract yet.
No, I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay. So I've been struggling with the AGU website to submit the abstract. I think I've got it in as an accepted abstract, but they're really not too obvious about, they say, well, we have it, and they're not announcing that there are any problems, but they say, but there may still be problems, and if there are, you can come log in and correct them. Well, I don't know if there are problems or not, so Nathaniel's going to help walk me through that process.
I will attempt to.
Yeah. And maybe it's all good at this point. I don't know. There were some obvious problems that I was able to figure out and fix, but it's all new to me. So that's been an interesting process. So come on down to New Orleans and cheer me on. I mean,
and I think, and you're not the only one that will be there. I know Bill Engelke is going to be there. He submitted an abstract.
I think Gwyn has, right?
Gwyn submitted an abstract. Let's see. I think Kuldeep and Kukai have submitted abstracts, although I'm not sure for this session, but they're submitting abstracts on equatorial plasma bubbles and solar eclipse results respectively. So quite a few abstract submissions going through.
No, it should be fun. And I hope enlightening for at least somebody.
I agree. I think it'll be really good. This session, it's not just the HamSCI session. It's really it's kind of cross-disciplinary, but HamSCI seems to fit well into it. And some of my other citizen science friends at AGU, they've been a big proponent of this. So I kind of, I'm a co-convener. I support it. I think it'll be really nice to use this to showcase what some of you are doing and what the HamSCI project is doing, and some of the non-traditional ways that we are solving instrumentation and science problems. So it should be really nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. My brain's a little fried because I've been, in addition to doing this, I'm helping out at Cub Scout camp this week. So it's been a very busy day, and it's already kind of late here. But let's see. I should ask, is Dave Witten still on? Or did he go?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Dave. So I saw your email. Is the system ready to order 25 pieces yet? Or I think.
Can you give me a day to be absolutely sure?
I can give you more than a day.
Okay. Well, I had hoped I was trying to be ready to answer that question specifically tonight, but I'm not comfortable. I think I'm comfortable. I've got the answer, but just like Tom, I'm finding that 5 volts is not making its way from the USB port to where it's wanted on some of the mag boards. And I would really like the little board that I want to use provides it, but it's just not going, or we're not getting what we need. And so I might, well, actually, I can get 3 or 5, but not both, and we want both. And so I might have to put a voltage regulator on the board to drop the 5 to. But other than that, it's pretty much ready to go, and I'd pretty much fall over dead if the boards that I wanted to use. There's actually lots of options to do this, but the one I like the best is like I said, there were 80 in stock earlier today. I would like to order soon because there were 92 the other day, and somebody, if we order 25, that'll put a hurt, and this outfit's complaining about how much they're having to pay for parts. But it's all $15, so it's, and if we if you can give me a day or two, I'll have it all sorted.
Yeah, I can definitely give you a couple days because I mean, this week is very hard for me to do anything besides Cub Scout camp and get ready for K3LR. So,
okay. Well, the real thing I want to know is, do you want me to order them and somehow transfer them to you, or?
Well, I guess I'd like to know for sure, before I order 25 of them, I'd like to know for sure that it's going to work.
Yeah, I would too. I do too.
Yeah.
Feel
So that's
strongly that way.
I mean, I think ideally, you tell me that it works, and then if you even sent 1 or 2 here, and then I migrate my magnetometer over from my Raspberry Pi over to the B-Links I have over here. That would give me a lot more confidence that, we want to do 25 of these.
Yeah, well, I'm very nervous about my own propensity for mistakes, and I would like to get this sorted for sure. And yeah, send you one. But right now I'm working with little hand fabricated prototypes, and my hand fabrication of things small is not really great. So I want to get that out of the equation.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of time. We're not going to be shipping these out. I don't think we're going to do a wide scale deployment of personal space weather station things until probably this next summer. So it's not like there's a total rush on this. What I wrote as Bill alluded to earlier, we've been asked by the National Science Foundation to write our annual report now, and this is only barely 8 months into the project. But by having us write the annual reports now, as soon as those reports get approved, they can give us the next increment of the grant. So they didn't give us all of the money for the 4 years up front. So they're encouraging us to get this in as soon as possible. So all 4 PIs I spent my Sunday morning in a coffee shop frantically writing out a document, and which I got done. But one of the things I said in there is that this year we have started amassing parts for the deployment. I have now ordered all the RX 888s. So hopefully the last 16 of them are arriving in Scranton this week. I've ordered all the B-Links we need. I'm in the process of ordering the 2-port Leo Bodners that we need, and since I ordered 25 with the volume discount, they came out to be the same price as I budgeted for the single port ones. So that was kind of nice. So that's in process as well. So we're doing all of that, and then we're also doing not a mass deployment, but we're deploying at a few select sites, like of course my house, Jenny Jump, Christine Zagziski, K3LR, and we've had teams of students and faculty members go to each of these sites. And each of these sites that we're going to, we're learning more about how to install the software, how to solve problems. And so I basically told the NSF we're kind of doing this preparation for the bigger deployment next year by this year doing these initial site things. And of course, so the VLF, we're kind of redesigning some of the power supply stuff. Now we have the magnetometer, we're kind of trying to redesign some of the stuff. So yeah, so I guess there's not a particular rush. If it happens in the next couple of weeks, that's great. If it takes a month, that's okay too.
Well, I hope to do better than that, but sometimes.
Yeah.
John, Nathaniel, I just also remembered those filters, the F3060 filters. Yeah, they came in and I tested them, and so far they're all looking good. They identical to the previous batch. I mean, they should have been, but it's always good to verify it. So I'm putting them together, and as soon as you need them, I'll be able to ship out the remainder. So that won't be a problem anyway.
That sounds great.
I was happy they all work, because that was a prototype run. You kind of expect glitches and you fix them, but anyway, that's good news.
Yes.
Another, Nathaniel, one other thing, really the software for the magnetometer running on the B-Link is another issue. And I have, I actually kind of vibe coded the, or at least I got Google's Gemini to help me translate. All the drivers were in Python, which didn't integrate well. So I got it moved to C mostly. Hopefully I can just plug it right into some of the Grape 2 code, and it'll work pretty well then.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's important in the that picture.
That'll have to be tested.
If I can interject, I wanted to take the opportunity. I know that there's been work, Paul, your time reference transmitter status, and Scott, the software that detects that. I've been so focused on some other issues that I haven't really followed your progress there. I wonder where you're at.
Well, actually, if you're curious, I put a sort of a user's guide document, a very, very preliminary, and a lot of stuff left out, but it kind of shows where I stand now. Anyway, I put that up on the Turn Island Systems website. I've got a page there called Sandbox. That's kind of where I throw stuff that's not ready for prime time, or semi-private, but it's accessible. So anyway, if you want to see the PDF shows the test results, and describes how I see it being used in a system. So that's probably the best update. Otherwise I can fill you in on details, but it's got some good information in it. And that, but again, this is strictly the hardware modulation end of things. The receiver demod part is over my head at the moment anyway.
I think that's on Scott's end.
Yeah, fortunately.
And I believe Scott mentioned in another call that he had PCM record added. Scott, you added a flagged PCM record that said look for the time sync signal at this frequency. Is that?
Yeah, you can spec it by frequency or SSRC, and you can tell it to record that channel or not. And it seems to be working. I'm still testing it, but so far so good.
Okay, well, we need to get your software and Paul's hardware together at a place that I was hoping would be WWV, line of sight WWV, where we could.
I would love to get a second site spun up. I think that's a
Okay.
great idea.
So Paul,
But
do you have hardware that you could
yeah, I've got a box ready to send out. But let's make sure that we're talking about the same thing. I'd love to do an actual over-the-air transmitter that puts out this time sync code, but don't have that ready. I got all the pieces, and I could make that happen. But what I do have is the box that is used to inject the timestamp signal into the receiver.
Well, that's the only thing that honestly, that's the only thing I care about.
Okay, well, that's what I got. Let me.
I don't think we need a time sync transmitter.
I need one, but that's
okay.
because I want it. Let me show you what I got if we got time. Let me.
I dropped the link to your PDF in the chat.
Oh, great, thanks. Let's see. How about this one? Share. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's the board. That green jumper wire. I have my output filter and attenuator bypassed, and that's just for testing. And I've got a bunch of. Oh, come on. Thought I could. There we go. And that's what I'm going to be sending out. So it has a USB-C jack on the back. That's where it gets its power. Just a phone charger or whatever, or USB hub will power it. It needs a clock input and needs a modulation input. And the simplest way to drive that is with the dual Bodnar. We're running about at least anticipate. Well, this box is designed. It's got a filter for around 84 megahertz output, which is sending an above Nyquist frequency. So the Bodnar provides that 84 megahertz clock. It provides the 1 PPS modulation and the 2 jacks called receive and antenna. Those are actually connected together internally, but I'm injecting, minus 35 dBm level BPSK signal into that at the 84 megahertz. And I was worried about harmonics, but man, the filter that I put in there for 84 megs is really knocking them down. So, that's good. Yeah, and there's about a half a dB loss because of my injection. And we are kind of relying on the fact that 84 megahertz isn't going to make it back through the coax, through whatever filters and preamps might be in line between that and the antenna. And it probably won't get transmitted out of the antenna anyway. But there is minus 35 dBm at 84 megahertz. That will be trying to get out the antenna port as well as into the receiver port, because really it's just essentially a T. But that's what we got, and I'm ready to send that to whoever wants to set it up and do something with it.
I think Glenn's site, initially his house, but the premier site for receiving WWV, the best signal noise ratio, is Glenn's mountaintop site, because it's 2,500 feet above the antennas, WWV antennas. So it's right in the main lobe of the output signal. So he's got, I don't know, 90 dB signal noise ratio on most of the carriers, something like that, 80 or 90 dB.
Not that high.
Well, it's pretty darn high, because he's I know it's well above 60 dB. I'm pretty sure, or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, it's absolutely the best signal noise ratio of any. Now, that there's phase noise and there's problems with the transmitted signals, which are a separate issue. But in any case, it's the best received site. He has much better signal noise ratios than Dave Schwartz's site, which is 6 kilometers east, but it's on the ground. So both of them see the antennas, but the ground, the ground transmission is so much impaired. The signals are so impaired by transmission is at 0 dB elevation, that the 20 dB elevation signal, the 20-degree elevation line of sight to the mountaintop has much better, cleaner signals. So, but in any case, I think rather than try to get Dave Schwartz engaged in this, I'd like to. I don't think Glenn has had much involvement in this project, but I was going to ask him to to set up a one of his receivers with this time pulse, and that would give me a place where we could reference this whole system again against the against WWV's pulses and the code that we've been using to date, Scott's code that looks at the 1 second ticks, and make sure that the 1 his algorithm that looks at the 1 second ticks should then see the with that signal injected and using Scott's PCM record, we should be able to pull the whole the whole do a reference. Okay, is that so? I'll contact you guys. Hang on, I gotta.
No, I mean that sounds fine. Yeah, I'm looking forward and not looking forward to having Glenn critique my design, but I can take it. So see where that goes.
Paul, you said there's no filtering at all on the modulation?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, there is minor filtering because of the RF bandpass filter, but that does essentially nothing for the
I was just thinking
sidebands.
about the lower sideband extending down, although that is if it's just 1 hertz.
If it's 1 hertz, it's fallen below the noise floor within a kilohertz, 100 hertz maybe.
So no audible ticks at all on the upper part of the receiver passband.
Yeah, I just used my ICOM 7200 here and tuned around. This is when I was running the thing at 3.5 megahertz or something, because I can run any frequency into it. And yeah, that's right. And I used one of my filter combiners for well, anyway, where is it? One of these things as the RF filter, and which is even wider than the bandpass than the filter that I put into the BPSK box. Anyway, so I tuned around on it, and yeah, tuning right on top of it, you could hear the clicks, but you get outside of the 3 kilohertz receiver passband, and I just couldn't hear anything above or below. So it's way down there, as it should be, but it's good to confirm.
Yeah. I like to get one, but probably not in your first wave.
Yeah, I think I got 3 more I haven't built yet, 3 more boards. If somebody, I'm going to hang on to one, but if somebody actually wants to test one, I'd be thrilled to get it out there.
I wouldn't mind trying.
Okay. Have you had a chance to try out my 60 megahertz filter preamp, Phil?
Oh yeah, it's working well. It's working well.
Okay, send me a glowing testimonial so I can put it on my website.
The main thing I got to look for now is sensitivity to power supply noise. I noticed that you have a filter in there. Basically, it's an amplified low pass. It looks like.
Yeah, it's
better a follower on a RC filter.
Right.
Did you actually test that? I mean, I'm not criticizing or anything. I'm just wondering if you did test it.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I have any results. I mean, that design's actually been published and I've seen results, but I did try running. Oh yeah, actually a long time ago, I used I don't know, like a 1 millihenry inductor, and I put some turns on it to modulate the the current flowing through it from between the power supply. Anyway, I put that inductor as if it were a transformer in the power lead to the thing. And I had really good results. Up. God, I wish I'd maybe I saved those somewhere, but anyway, good over a very wide frequency range. It really did a good job. It was knocking it down
A big
by,
problem now is switching power supplies, and
yeah,
having to swap out switchers for linears in a lot of places, and it makes kind of a mess in my rack. It means lots of wall warts plugged into lots of outlets, and it does provide galvanic isolation, which
yeah,
is
and that's what my filter does not have galvanic isolation, and and it's not going to do anything with ground conducted common mode stuff either.
yeah.
But if there is noise coming in on the plus 12 power lead, that little filter does a pretty good job of
Okay,
knocking
that transistor doesn't run saturated. I mean, what's the voltage drop across it?
as little as possible. I mean, it's only
Oh yeah, you want as little as possible, but you need something there for it to be able to saw off any ripple coming through on the
yeah,
light.
and it the ripple's not huge. I mean, the thing is running about 0.7, 0.8 volts or something below the the emitter's less than a volt. Pardon me, it's within a volt of the positive of the collector voltage.
Okay.
It's it's just that one resistor essentially from collector to base, and doesn't draw a lot of base current. So but it worked really well on some pretty big ripple. If I
Okay.
can, yeah, I don't have my notes where I am now, but maybe I'll do some testing and provide those results.
'Cause I've gotten bitten before, with noise. I mean, if you're not careful, it's gonna get you. It's gonna leak in somewhere. And
Yeah, no, I mean, that it's gonna get noise modulation on the power amp on the
yeah,
preamplifier.
I'd
If
like to
nothing
run
else.
everything. I'd like to run everything off of a single 12-volt bus with a battery on it, but that's difficult if you need to provide, isolated grounds and make sure all the ripple can't come from one load into back to the supply into another thing that's sensitive. And anything that touches an antenna is really, really suspect, like a preamp or a
Yeah,
bias T, stuff like that.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can dig up or just do some more tests. I've got the gear here I need to do it. I'm an Occidental now. Um, I'll see. I'll share my results, but don't know how soon I'm going to get around to it.
Well, my other question is, so thank you, Paul. And I think what I'll propose this to Glenn to set it up. I even have some extra B-Links and AAA systems, and he has been doing a lot of testing, comparative testing. So I'm not sure he has a free system to dedicate for this. And I've had no end of trouble with multiple cooks in the kitchen, like with trying to get Phil's K9Q code at KFS, and trying to get Whisper Demon and doing debugging on Whisper Demon on the same machine where he's doing. You're doing, Phil, you're doing your debug. I'm just thinking of separate them all out and give you your own machine. Or at least,
Yeah, that would be nice.
I mean, I bought 3 more B-Links, and I have, thanks to Clint's repair work, I've got 3 functioning, one of which is yours, Nathaniel, functioning triple eights. So I'm, I've been, there's been so much interference between different development tasks on the same machine. I think I've largely separated them out, Phil. So you should basically I leave Radio D running all the time, and don't touch any of those services, your services, the FT8s and so on. But you know, it's my software, and I could be perturbing yours in ways. I try to
Yeah.
look at it. I wrote a little routine, a function, bash function, just to get the status of all your services and be able to status them and honestly stop and restart them if they're not running. But you know, I don't know what for sure if I'm disturbing anything you're doing when I do that. So I try not to
Oh,
do it at
it's
all.
not just radio D, you know, I've been also trying to keep the spots flowing into PSK reporter and that,
Oh,
yeah, FTA.
I include those as part of your
Okay.
services, and not entirely yours, but yeah, it's the FT8 and 4 services. It's your HFDL services.
Yeah.
You know, those are all things that basically Whispered Demon has nothing to do with, and I try to stay away from them. But you know, I'm not always successful. And then there's the problem, Phil, that you had you change the structure. You now split your FT8 into 2 services, and the names of them are so subtly different. You know, you had decode D before, and now the decode, and it's
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
got you know I had a bunch of systems. I had put in some code now that just looks for decode D service running and stops it and disables it. Right, because I don't think that's your legacy service, and I don't think you want it
Yeah. I've been
running.
trying to get rational on all the names and to, you know, sometimes I don't know whether something's going to work until I try it in terms of whether it's maintained.
Yeah,
You know, it's,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So,
you're gonna make mistakes, sure.
yeah. Well, anyway, Phil, I fully support what you're doing. I want to not interfere with it, but I don't know that it's a if now fantastically complicated piece of hardware and software, or mostly software, and it's possible to you know to that I might do something to interfere with yours. And forgive me if that happens, and just tell me and let me know.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm trying to leave all of those services running all the time on all the KFS and KPH machines. So I think that's
Good.
where and I haven't been to DP0 or VY0 at all. So in fact, I hope you go there and check on them, because
Yeah, I
I
have been
don't.
watching those and they have been working pretty well. Um,
Okay.
the system in Oregon seems to be a little more stable now. Did something change?
Which is system in where?
Zero GVN. It was crashing a lot, and poor guy was having to walk out there to restart it in the dark. It seems to have been stable lately. Did something change down there? Do you know?
I have no idea. I think you're in more direct contact with Michael.
Yeah, I didn't
Uh,
either, but just briefly in Germany.
yeah. Now it might have something to do with I did reduce by changing reducing the CPU clock frequencies. I think I discussed this in a previous meeting, but Whisper Daemon now by default reduces the clock frequency of the host CPU, and
Oh,
so it's configurable, but by default it moves the clocks down from typically on the Ryzens they can run up to 4800 megahertz, 4.8 gigahertz peak, but by limiting the clock to 3.2, there's plenty of clock CPU power to service a 129 megasample stream. And the CPU temperature goes down from 70 C to 45 C in some sites. So it's
that's why.
and the power consumption goes down from a peak of 40 watts down to 20 watts. So it's there's a big win given you don't these PCs the B-Links are really designed for gamers. And so the manufacturer tweaks it to get as much CPU cycles as they can out of without blowing up and the wearing out the CPU bonding, thermal bonding in the 2-year warranty time. So by reducing the CPU peak frequency, without we still have enough CPU power to service all of what we need to do. We dramatically extend the life, reduce the power, um, and the heat generated by these things, and extend the life, I believe, we can, of those CPUs. So that's happens by default and I do that, of course, to Radio D as well as I do it to the Whisper Daemon. So I set it. Whisper Daemon sets up Radio D and just the Radio D, not your other services. Just Radio D is restricted. So it only runs typically on a pair of hyper-threaded pair of cores, usually core 0 and
Right.
1. And it works, has plenty of CPU cycles, doesn't drop anything. Um, the other services then run on the other CPUs. And Whisper Daemon, when it goes to 100%, when it runs the Whisper decoders, none of those Whisper decode jobs, which suck, run at 100%, they're completely CPU bound. They run at 100% CPU, but they don't run on the same cores as your K9Q software.
Right.
And okay, so that eliminated a lot of the transient losses, burps and stuff that we were seeing in the output streams. That don't happen at all anymore, to my knowledge. I don't see them, except when you run K9Q Web and you start opening Spectrum views.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you run the Spectrum thread runs on the same cores as Radio D and the FFT prex. So I'm thinking, if we want to support more than one or two Q web jobs will saturate the CPU that's doing the FFTs. And then you will start to see drop packets. So the Spectrum threads need to run on a different core than your FFT and proc threads.
Okay.
And I'm not sure your code is the right code to make the decision of what core it should run on. So I'm thinking Whisper Daemon does know this. I mean, I have code in Whisper Daemon that knows the structure of the CPUs and how the caches are organized. And so I was going to have Whisper Daemon go in and just look for Spectrum threads and move them to a different core than FFT and proc.
Okay.
And I don't think there's any better way of doing it.
Yeah, I just don't like hardwiring things in ways that make things worse.
Well, it'll never. Of course, the Spectrum threads might miss. They might run out of CPU cycles, but they won't affect the core of FFT and.
Yeah, I also
Okay.
need to look at if there's some way that I can reduce the rate at which the Spectrum stuff needs to run down to the rate at which it's being pulled,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
much more than 50 hertz.
Yes. Well, I don't know if Scott's doing refreshes at more than 10 hertz, right? I think so.
Well, they're
think
not.
Well, anyway, it ought to be whatever the rate that the Spectrum display. You're right. Whatever it can support is what you should be. You don't need, and it seems like you could almost generate every zoom level, and just not have a known deterministic set of Spectrum threads. I mean, how many zoom levels are there, Scott? There's except no, they zoom around the tuning frequency. I'm sorry that you can't do that. I mean, you could only that doesn't help. So moving the Spectrum threads off out of the core FFT threads is something I was going to put into Whisper Daemon. But until then, you typically, I think even on a B-Link, more than two web sessions to a B-link, and you will start to see flashes on the spectrum and burps in audio.
Yeah.
Because you only have you only have those two cores to run FFT, proc, and as many spectrums as you want. So, I mean, Nathaniel had this problem. Here's the trade-off, and is that if you're going to support those all those spectrum zoom levels, then you need to do the FFT wisdom calculations for all the different zoom levels, and that adds another 10 minutes to. I think it's only 10 minutes though to the optimization time. I'm But I know that I ran it. I realized I went to, I forget whose site, who was running at 64 megasamples. He didn't have a profile um, for the 129, and it took a B-Link. FFT WF Wisdom ran for almost 2 hours to calculate that.
I can believe that.
So I hate to put that long delay in the startup of Whisper Demon. But if I think that it's, in my experience, I think all of these sites should be running at 129 because not that you want to receive 6 meters, but when you look at the spectrum above 30 megahertz, you see you see many cases, all the ingress mechanisms because there's hardly any signals there, but there'll frequently be all kinds of RFI above 30. And that tells you there's something wrong with the receive system, that there's RFI ingress that needs to be addressed. So I'm thinking of just saying, when you install a 888 system, Whisper Demon 888 system, be prepared for several hours while it sits there and tells you it's calculating, when you first bring it up. So I don't think there's any way around it. It's just, I'm thinking of making 129 the default. Right now, I think your code, Phil, defaults that your templates are 64 megasamples.
Yeah, I've been switching my own sites over to 129 with pretty good luck.
Yeah.
Also lets me like monitor low band VHF and 6 meters. And I'm hearing stuff there. I mean, not a lot, but I do hear stuff. So
Glenn, there's stuff being picked up, and there's 8-meter stuff that's being picked up. Are you doing an 8-meter FT4 and 8 on 8 meters? Because I set up Gerhard OE8 GBB or whatever this call is. He was the one who asked me for 40-meter support, and I could put that easily into Whisper Demon and configured you, but I'm not sure I set up your FT4 and 8 to decode on 8 meters.
I asked you about this. I think I was going to put it in my own. I don't think I've seen anything, but I will check to see if I actually enabled that.
Well, there's a test site. You can put it in and test it at Gerhard's in Austria. Because that all that 8-meter stuff is happening in Europe.
Of course,
I don't think there's anything
and
here.
there's low band VHF land mobile using it here, but hey,
well,
I'm sampling that fast. I might as well listen. Doesn't really cost much.
Yeah, it costs nothing in CPU cycles to do it. But anyway, that's also, I meant to, maybe I could post this elsewhere, but it looks like you're not putting group write permissions on one of your config files, your templates, and so that you have one of you should look the next time you do a greenfield install, look at the permissions on the an etc radio directory. I think you'll see there's one file that has group write is not enabled. And that I think that's that ends up means that Whisper Demon can't make the changes to it. I have to go in and
I think you mentioned one of those. I may have already fixed it, but I run sudo so often. I try to reduce that, but it's a easy habit.
a cat care call here for a second. Yeah, I think if you would look at your permissions in your templates file and consider making 129 the
Yeah,
default.
sure.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other topics. Scott, I think my question for you, if you're still around, is how do I get your PCM record with the timing listens to Paul's timing signal feature?
I'll probably
Okay.
need to push a branch to get up.
You can just check it in if you want to put the code and check it into Whisper Daemon directory. That's where I check in the code that I
Oh,
use.
yeah. Okay. The
Okay.
only issue with that is it probably broke the Whisper Daemon mode without sync. I haven't checked that.
Okay. Well, if you could try your code, or give me your code if you want to have me test it and check it in. I'll just check it in default, and
Yeah, I can
without
send you a pull
just
request.
verify that the regression testing, and then when I get Paul's, if I can get Paul's injector running at Glenn's, then in fact, Paul, if you're supposed still with us, if you might, maybe if you sent that to me,
No, he's out.
I could, yeah, I could test it here, and you and I could work together on I have, I can stage the B-Link system here and then ship it off to Glenn and just ask him to connect it up to his antenna. Oh, here's another topic for you, for Phil. Phil, Glenn wants to put wants to migrate to this have a 888 system up on the mountaintop, that site I described earlier. But it would be really better if it just did it was a simple RX 888 decoder and forwarder. So to save power, but the problem is trying to send multicast packets down from the hill over a microwave link would really be awkward. Maybe we could translate multicast to unicast using NC or some other Linux utility. But I wonder if we could consider just making a unicast destination as an option for radio D outputs instead of having the multicast mode have a unicast mode.
Did that. I'll check, make sure it works. I thought I did that. But what's the problem with
Did you-
sending multicast? I mean, a packet's a packet.
Well, multicast doesn't go over these microwave links.
Oh, this is not
The
local.
ubiquity.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's not local. So it's going 20 kilometers across, from the top of a mountain down.
Is
And
it
that's
live? Is
that's
it
where we
live
want to put
by,
we could
local
put
link, or is it a routed like? What does it look like? Is there a router in the
it basically it looks like a bridge. An
bridge?
ubiquity
Okay,
an ubiquity link looks like a bridge. So but it won't carry multicast packets across it. And so it's it'll do unicast, so we can just extend the LAN from the base station down in Fort Collins, extend the LAN through this link up to the
if it is a LAN,
mountaintop site.
if it is a bridge, then I could do exactly what Wi-Fi hotspots do, which is multicast to unicast conversion. In other words, you keep it in the multicast packet, but you slap a unicast MAC.
Well, that's the alternative. That's the alternative. It just becomes, it'd be. There's a lot of I continually run into problems with multicast and with the multicast DNS and problems. There are many sites where it would be so much easier if I could just put in the destination unicast address and port.
And the first thing that happens, you want to receive it in two spots, and then
But there is not one site of the 100 sites that I'm running. There's not one site that's exploiting that feature.
You're not recording the
Yeah,
data.
they're recording. They have one recorder. They have one listener recording to one WAV file. That's it. That's it. And
wait, you're not running the control program?
I've just, they don't need the control program. I just
What about the tune program?
Never use tune. Never, don't use any of these things. And so that, I ran into this the other day at KFS. Why was the super darn multicast channel not present? I looked at the config file. I don't know. I had a TTL1. It was supposed to go from the KFS Omni and show up. All the others were showing up. All the other streams coming out of KFS Omni were there, but the super darn wasn't. So I had to, I did a restart on Radio D, and poof, suddenly it was control showed it was there. It was being advertised. I could see run control on the main program and see it listed, but the stream wasn't showing up. So it is this multicast thing is a frustration, and I wasted an hour debugging that. And that's the only destination at KFS for that stream.
Yeah. I thought I made it possible to specify a unicast address, but I never do that. Let me check them because I use the multicast all the time.
Of course you do, and it's a wonderful feature. I'm not saying that it's a good
if
choice.
you want unicast, I'll go make sure it works. I mean, you can just give a unicast DNS address. I already put in a feature that allows you to instead of just advertising and a domain name and assigning a multicast address, it allows you to consult the DNS for an existing multicast address.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Maybe you did, and maybe I just haven't had time to test it.
You're breaking up.
That loss of network connectivity on the
breaking up badly. Rob.
Oh, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, Xfinity is down here. So we're talking on my cell phone.
Hey, Scott. I think you're still there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Have you, let's see. I noticed on the FX3 code that you had hacked with the watchdog.
Yes.
Is it, you made a comment that you could, did you make a comment, or at least I read it, that you could select reset times, or is it just, I guess, I don't know of any arguments that you would put in there unless, or something like that. I don't know what that meant.
It's hard-coded in the source.
Okay.
But conceivably, you could send it over USB, but
Well,
that would require pretty massive changes.
Well, there's no reason to do that. I mean, yeah. So do you have